morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is May 19, 2023. Bender, how are you, sir?
I'm ready for the weekend.
Man, if I were
Good.
you, after your calls and moves and grooves from yesterday, I would be so ready for the weekend. I'd be eyeing the hammock and going like, you know what? That is where I shall reside. Again, if you missed yesterday's activity as far as Bender, basically narrating the market and calling the shots yesterday, you missed one of the most epic days that we have seen in a long, long while. So if you have not taken a moment to give a hat tip to Bender, please, at this point in time, give the man the standing ovation that he deserves for a day of yesterday that was epic on so many levels. Great work, Bender.
Man, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it, man. You got it. All right. So here we are once again. We back up in this. We have Powell going off today at 11 Eastern. We have a couple of more Fed speakers in front of it. We do have still very decent upside call flow still present. A We can talk about being overbought. We can talk about a lot of things. We can talk about a suppressed VIX. We can talk about the why. We can talk about the how. We can talk about maybe what might be next. But the reality is the market wanted to pop that resistance. Um, for people like myself, I was looking for an actual catalyst for it to do that. The catalyst never really presented itself, but yet it did it anyway. So that is what I would call an environment that is not data dependent. That is what I would call an environment that is, you know, basically operating off of power, pure technical power. So, with that being said, technicals being chief of all right now, Bender, please tell us where we are because we're no longer in that range, at least to my eye, above 4,200. What you got, man?
All right. Sure. Let me share my screen here. Okay. All right. What we're looking at here, I'm going to go to a 4-hour first. And, what I'm kind of looking at here is currently sitting 42.2375. This on the 4-hour, this wick back here on what is that? September 13th. That wick stands out to me. It made that high up to 42.75, and then that ended up being, a down day and reversed sharply from there. The midpoint of that is 42.28 half. So if I fast forward to where we're currently sitting, this is the midpoint of that wick. 5 handle, 4.5 handles above. So I'm going to be watching that pretty close. We've got a couple of, tops that were made up in here that we've taken out. That pop yesterday, taking out all of these previous swing highs. It's fuel for the fire. When you're pushing up and you're taking these levels out, it's like, this was gasoline ready for a match right here. And we got it. Now we've taken out some of these, previous highs. This is what stands out to me as being, an area of importance. They can run it all the way up here, 42.75. We had already taken that out by one tick previously. And that triggered the push down last time. So if we get above that 42.28 half, and we can maintain, I'll be looking for that 42.75. For me, when I'm looking at setting up the day here is that I've got two lines on here, right? This was just that high yesterday. This is 6 o'clock Eastern, 42.25 half. We're operating just above that right now. This red line down here is the midnight open, or the true days open. And that's at 42.1675. Now, can we keep going higher from here? We certainly could. Market's going to do what the market wants to do. Obviously, we've got some stuff in here that we have left behind. As long as we maintain above 42.1675, then, I think we're in good shape. We're okay. But keep in mind that it is also possible if we find ourselves below that, that is the true days open. So that's 20, not even that, 10 handles down from where we currently sit. Overnight inventory leans short, coming into the day short. So they're, this may be one of those days where we get, some of that early covering that takes place, just kind of like yesterday when I was talking about some of the names that we were watching for that pop yesterday. If they come in and start covering early, we could see another pop. We could see a little more to the upside, fueled by that. But if after that is done, they pull back below that midnight open, I would be very careful thinking that, it's going to go higher after that. That to me would look like, they ran the upside early and then pulled it back down below that midnight open. To me, that would look like we're going to come back down and fill in some of these areas. I was talking to somebody last night who was basically asking me that, hey, now that we've broken out of, that range that we were in, is that meaningful? How important was that? And for me right now, it wasn't all that big of a deal. It was nice to get out of this range that we've been in, right? Who's clacking away over there? It was nice to get out of that range that we've been stuck in. But with OPEX happening, and again, all these levels that we knew had kind of been building up as areas to go hunt liquidity. I don't know how important or meaningful this actually was. It remains to be seen. We need some more time to figure this out. We need some more information to come in as far as movements and price action before we know if we're actually kind of done with this area or not. Going back to a 15-minute here. Let's see, where did I draw those? Here you go. The other thing that I was looking at yesterday is just drawing fibs in here and the extensions from this low to this high. You've got your 1414 was up near 42.21. So, when I see that, it's like, okay, well, they ran the extensions here, like, maybe this is done. It can go a little bit higher, but there's also a reasonable chance that, this was the move. And when you're looking at, what is the measured move, you're looking for a run to these extensions. And once that's done, well, then we start something new, right? And there's a lot of systems out there, a lot of traders that are looking for those extensions as, okay, if I want to sell, I want to sell in that zone, in that range. And if it pushes higher, I'm out really quick, right? And I think that it's a reasonable place for us to pause. But we also know that if everyone's looking at that and they start selling, and they don't get that move down because that rotation happens that we've been talking about, the market lifting on the back of 7 names or whatever it is, and they don't get that move down, and all of a sudden we see that rotation coming in, that creates more, those sellers become buyers if that rotation happens and the rest of the market starts getting a lift because all this other shit is behind us. We know what that can cause as well. So that is kind of what I'm looking at. I think that midnight open, I think this is kind of the key level to watch. If we get a pullback, see if it pulls back below that midnight open. To me, that would look like this is probably done, and we've got to come down and either re-enter the torture zone or at least fill in some of this stuff.
Yeah. To me, Benner, when I look at this and I think about this move, and you tell me what you think. You remember when we were down diving or in that 3,500, 3,600 range? We were nose diving in there, and no matter how you looked at it, you could not find a bullish scenario anywhere within the charts. You just couldn't. When we were, it's just like, and now you look at it after the fact, you're like, well, sure, of course, that's where we bounced and rallied. This move to the upside, you can't find, there's nothing bearish about anything that you just showed on here. Like technically,
it's not
flag fire.
It's not bearish.
Fire. Oh no, but
right,
but
it's not.
The point that I'm trying to make is you can't look at the chart in through here and be like, this is, long term. For a long-term trend, I can't look to get short because it's not necessarily within the chart. Just like long-term, it's like you're basically picking spots to where probabilities say it could happen, as opposed to trend being what it is. It's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Correct.
It's not, when you look at it, it's be like, okay, so that was a bull flag, that was a double bottom that fired, that was a bull flag that fired, that was a dip to the bottom of the previous that fired, that's another bull flag that fired. We're in the middle of another bull flag that is firing.
Yes.
So it's like that. When I say that, it's like, so if you're looking at it and you're like, okay, can this continue? It's like, yeah, sure, it absolutely can. And if you go back and you look at some of these global charts, if you look at Japan, you look at China, you look at Europe, these cats are banging highs, man. And we're not talking about near-term highs. We're talking about high highs that they're banging up against. We're the biggest laggard within the game as far as, real markets go. It's interesting. It's really, really interesting.
And I agree with you that it doesn't look bearish, right? But it doesn't ever look bearish until that turn happens, right? And
correct.
And like you said, in this scenario, what I'm looking at isn't. I'm not looking for that turn and then it starts to look weaker and then we start to look. No, I'm looking for where is the area that I can expect for that potentially to happen. And if I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, well, they ran this high. Let's okay. So if I'm looking at this, it's like, okay, we made this high, this low to this high. We came back down to about the midpoint there and then ran it up through these extensions, right? So that move is done.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is that's the calculated move, the measured move. That's the top end of it. Now we've seen plenty of scenarios where that occurs. You get a little pullback, and then kind of the next move starts.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It doesn't mean that it necessarily has to reverse, but after this pullback or this move down to take out the lows,
mm-hmm.
take out this previous low right here. After that, then you get the push up, come back down to the midpoint there between 50% and 61.8%, and then fires up to these extensions like that. That's the move. So I'm looking at this going, okay, if that's the move and that's what they were set up for, this is where they're taking money off, is right here. Anybody that wants to sell, this is where they were looking. Hey, if it gets up in here, I want to sell it. When we were in here consolidating after this low and then this high was made, there were absolutely analysts, technicians that were looking at this going, if we can push up into that 4220, over 4200, right up in here, that is the measured move. And so they're looking at that as an area to sell. Those that were picking up longs here, and then the long entry off that 50% level, the first target, if you're picking up longs off that 50% level, the first target is this 4172. And then kind of the stretch goals are up here, 4203, 4219 half. These areas right in here. Can it blow that off a little bit and then come back down? Yeah, it can. Mm-hmm. It can also certainly keep going higher, but this is what is on my mind right now, and the picture that I'm seeing is that this would be a reasonable area if it pulls back to go, oh yeah, I could see why it would have pulled back there. Well, I'm just telling you now that if it does, you can look at that and go, yeah, that all makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of it makes, if nothing else, it to pull back to recheck that previous consolidation area. It makes a little bit of sense. Maybe we did already. I don't know. Did we recheck it? But it's like there's a lot of things that make sense that don't necessarily have to happen. For
sure. Nothing's guaranteed.
So, look, I'm just looking forward to Bender Bonanza. Is what I'm looking forward to. Again, dude, I'm not trying to like pump you or anything like that. You just did incredible work the last several days. So hat tip to you.
Yeah, I being that it's Friday, right? I mean, I kind of told you yesterday afternoon that, don't be surprised if we get, we start off the market with some short covering, and then we get profit taking, and then we get nothing for hours. And then we get the last part of the day, which, everyone's gone, right? The ones that made all the money on this move, they're gone. They're on vacation by that point. They're taking off like in the next 2 hours. They're done for the day.
Yeah, probably before Powell takes the mic, I would imagine. Or maybe they stick around for it.
So then the last part of the day, sometimes you get that that true Friday action type move on low volume. They're low resistance, regardless of which direction that they want to take it. Maybe we get that move late in the day, but that's kind of how I'm thinking about the day. It has been a great week. I don't want to do anything to, I don't need to force something on a Friday if it's not there. Mm-hmm. What's the motto? Don't fuck up your Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
that's what I got.
Yep. All right, very good. Sonny, what you got, man?
Morning, everyone. Pretty quiet on the upgrade and the downgrades. The only couple of things that I liked was Bloom Energy BE. So we had some flow in that yesterday. It's gapped up this morning. Other one is GPS and Shake Shack. All three are upgrades. The downgrade side, Disney. Disney also put out a news yesterday that they're going to yank some shows from the streaming service to save some money. Not certain if that's good or bad, how it talks about it. So I'll be watching that as well as Netflix. Price target changes. Walmart got price target upgrades across the board by Bank of America, Guggenheim, J.P. Morgan, RBC, and Applied Materials also. So AMAT had the ER yesterday after hours. Wasn't too hot. The guidance was soft. So keep these price targets in mind. Just watch the chart on that. News side, we had talked about this, Samsung. There was some rumor that Samsung was going to look at replacing Google with Bing. So, the rumor started. Yeah, that's been put on hold. They're done with it. It's not going to happen. This is about $3 billion for Google that Google makes from Samsung on that. Warren Buffett bought another 3.5 million shares into Oxy. So I'll be watching for flow in that. Last time this came out in the pre-market, there was a whole bunch of flow and moved up like $5. Deere had the ER this morning. They are up nice. So watching CAT, AGCO as sympathy plays for that. Meta, they announced next round of their layoffs, but this is not additional people. This is part of the 10,000 layoffs they announced like a month or so ago. So they're just going into the third phase of the layoff now. Foot Locker also had their ER this morning, guided down. Numbers were soft. Yep. So I'll be watching Nike, Under Armour, Skechers. Not as much Crocs because they usually have a bullish flow. They have, own supply chain and selling and stuff like that. They always go up kind of deal. But Nike, so I'm conflicted on Nike a little bit. Yeah, they may get a little bit dump, but Nike has moved most of their sales channels to their own website and other areas. So what impact Foot Locker would have, I'm not certain. If there's a dip, there may be a little bit dip, but I think Nike would recover faster than Under Armour and the other brands. Bioname ICPT, I was trading that last week, so it's been halted pending news of the FDA decision this morning. And Catalent, CTLT, so delayed the ER again, but this morning they held a conference call to provide business updates. They, 2023 guiding, they're guiding down and everything, but stock dipped down to 28, mooned up to 36. I'm not touching that one today. And that's about it, actually. Yeah.
Very good. Thanks, Sonny. Stonkington, paging Stonkington.
Hello. What's up?
What's up, man?
Here. Let's do some sharing and some screens. Oh, not that. Let's do. There we go. Let's share some screens. And here we go. I'm trying to. Oh, I realized I don't have the time that this SPXS came in. I was trying to go back in historical mode on Black Box, but I realized it just gives us the date. But this one was interesting, and this is like, I missed this, but this was nice when this came in, and look at how it reacted right over here on the ES. It's like, I set an alert on this line that we'll get a pop in the room, but I love catching, like, SPXS is the one we got to keep an eye on. So if we're starting to pull back across the board, we'll get an alert if we cross back above this line, and we can see the reaction to it, because that SPXS has been important stuff. So keep an eye on that. Oh yeah, and I realized I had a discussion topic for this morning. First time ever for me, saw a guy reading a book while driving yesterday. Is that a thing? Is this a normal human process that I just wasn't aware of? What the fuck? I don't know. no words out there, I guess.
Well,
Okay.
driving is kind of boring. So, you know, if you know, if
Plus, I mean, where
if you're
you
not in
live,
the middle, if you're not in the middle of a Hummer,
you know, and
then
Stonky,
go
where
read a
you
book.
live, it's pretty flat ground out there. So even if you run off the road, you'll still be kind of on the road.
Yeah, that too, I guess. Man, so maybe I'm just the one boring guy who just reads without additional entertainment. Maybe. Wow. Not a lot of readers out there.
I don't know. Maybe it's just multitasking. I don't. What's the problem?
I guess I suck at multitasking, maybe.
Are you jealous? Let me ask you this: is your anxiety over this? Is it based on jealousy? Are you jealous that you don't have the same functionality?
I mean, I don't even have to drive because, the lady's sober. So when I'm all gummied up and we're going out and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get a drink, I don't have to drive. So I'm like, I guess I could be reading too. But I was impressed.
All
I'll
right.
leave it at that. There you go. All right. Let's look at the Russell. So I just keep adjusting these trend lines. I added this one today, but we were looking at the NQ where it was kind of megaphoning there, and it's like, okay, well now we got this trend line up. We'll see. I mean, obviously we know things have been on fire. If we look over here on the daily, looking at for this order block, looking at this guy, so that where they're popping recent highs, and then so if we're going to push up, I'll be watching for a reaction up here, and then we can see a Mr. T, this little fair value gap right there on the daily. So if we're pulling back, this would be a downside target, and just kind of sitting on this hourly order block line right there. So just going to kind of be watching. So just wait for the reaction to some of those levels. Russell's been on fire. They've been buying some banks. They've been buying the KRE. So we'll just kind of, it's been moving up with everything else. So we'll see what we get there. The NQ, banger day yesterday, of course. Gold box is going to be what we left behind just based on that candle. And then we've got this one below as well. So these would be downside targets. If we're going to be pushing to the down, if we continue upside, I'll just be looking for this other fair value gap to fill in. This is from a long time ago, way over there on the 4 hours. So that's kind of what I'll be looking at on the NQ. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, so trying to create a watch list last night. I'm like, what didn't pop off that would be worth watching for today? Tesla had a nice move, but didn't. I don't know that it ran as hard as everything else. So if we're going to continue upside on Tesla, I'm going to be looking at this 179.50. Can kind of see the importance of it a couple times over here, rejected, bouncing around, and then below we'll be looking at this 176.20. Also has shown its importance there, pulling back right up into it there. So just kind of give Tesla some time to bounce around, see which way it's going to go, and then can kind of see this little rising wedge set up here on the 4 hour. It had an inverse head and shoulders, and then so we'll see what they're going to do with it on Tesla. And then what else? I know I've mentioned keeping murder plane usually not on my radar, but it was a daily inside bar and got a really nice dark pool, so I think could set up for a trade here. Above, you can see this is a really clear line for whatever reason, 208.55. If we're going to go up, we'd have to break through this. You can see how many times it's just reacted to it, all these wicks off that line. And then, we'll just see what it does with the dark pool. Watch for flow, and then leave it to Sunny, see if we get any headlines. But that's all I've got for today.
All right, very good. Yeah, no, Tesla's going to be an interesting watch. I think Shop will be another interesting watch to the upside. I think that is like there is flow further dated. Plug also, there is flow further dated. Some of these smaller, like Plug in particular, is down. That's clean energy, that kind of stuff that used to be important in a lot of ways. The flow is there, for a move into the summer. On plug, the flow is there for a move on shop. Tesla, there just isn't a lot of bearish flow on Tesla this week, which is interesting considering that I don't want to say a lack of a move because it did have a nice move, but it really didn't get like that full bore acceleration. It seems like more of a weird choppy thing going on. I think Boeing's going to be interesting with that Deer ER as far as industrials, because it's like the story around those continues to be negative. But they come up with a headline here and there to make it look great. So I think that, again, is going to be very interesting to keep on watch as far as flow. Outside of that, the only thing that I want to mention here, we get GDP next week. We get PCE data next week. We have Fed minutes next week. There is a decent amount of data popping off next week, and we also get NVIDIA ER next week. So as you're planning your moves and what you're doing and what you're thinking, all that kind of stuff, those are the things that are out on the horizon. Outside of that, that's all I got, folks. Bender, Stonkington, Sonny, you guys have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to add on the plug that you mentioned. So I think I found a catalyst. There's a global conference on hydrogen stuff going on. So, plug, BLDP, FCell, definitely. And plug, like you said, got a lot of flow. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely on watch.
Yeah, no, plug look, you can see it's an interesting setup here, but again, it got kicked in the face, head and neck for a reason. So we shall see. Shop again did get good flow coming in. I believe the 63s and the 65s, I think a couple of weeks out. And if Shop decides to go, wasn't Shop an inside bar yesterday, Stonk? Or did I see that wrong?
Here's your daily
On the Shop. Oh, well, yeah, look, that's a flag, bottom of the flag. So now what? All right, everyone. We have 6 minutes until open. 6 minutes till open. It is Friday. Let's go out with a positive note. Let's walk into the weekend feeling good about ourselves. And if that means just saying, you know what, fuck it, we'll see you Monday, then let that be what that means. 6 minutes. We'll see you soon. Thanks, guys. Appreciate all your work.
See you soon.
Thank you, everyone.